When the NBA draft lottery went down and it got announced that the Dallas Mavericks beat the odds to claim the #1 overall pick this year, the reactions to it, to put it lightly, were pretty intense. There are so many tanking teams in the league right now that were praying to land that pick to help turn their misfortune around, but instead, the team that has been defining incompetence all year long got rewarded with it to provide a light at the end of the tunnel for them and their future. With this being the case, they seem locked into keeping the pick and establishing Cooper Flagg as the next pillar of the Mavericks. But that doesn't mean it's impossible for another team to sway them into making a trade, and that brings us to today's video. Today, we'll be taking a look at a recent article that ESPN published where they proposed 3 trade ideas that they believe would potentially sway the Mavericks into trading the #1 pick. As always, we'll be going through each one, analyzing whether or not the trades make sense, who benefits the most from them, and why or why not the teams involved would want to go through with them in the first place. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first proposal from the article is between the Dallas Mavericks and the San Antonio Spurs, where the Spurs received the #1 pick in exchange for the #2 pick, the #14 pick this year, the Atlanta Hawks first round pick in 2027, and a future first round pick swap. No players involved in this one, just one team unloading a portion of their treasure chest of draft capital to move up one single spot in the draft order. Is it worth it? Well, that comes down to how you view Dylan Harper and Cooper Flagg comparatively. The Spurs have clear motivation for wanting to move up one spot because after having traded for De'Aaron Fox at the trade deadline, they locked in an all-star caliber point guard to pair with Victor Wembanyama already, and then Stephon Castle is yet another budding guard who just won the Rookie of the Year. So even though Dylan Harper projects to be a fantastic point guard in the NBA for a long time, the fit would be a bit clunky at the beginning. Cooper Flagg, meanwhile, could slot right in next to Victor Wembanyama in the front court seamlessly and terrorize opponents for years to come together. For the Mavericks, they also did just lose Kyrie Irving for the season due to an Achilles tear, so Dylan Harper could fill that void at point guard while getting players like Anthony Davis and Klay Thompson to make his life easier at the start of his career as a playmaker. Is this enough to sway the Mavericks into giving up on taking Cooper Flagg though? It's tough to say. Flagg is the unanimous #1 overall prospect this year, and Harper is pretty clearly #2. But when that's the case in drafts, that's not always how it actually plays out. For example, in 2019, Zion Williamson was the clear-cut #1 pick and Ja Morant was the clear-cut #2 prospect, but Morant has proven to be the better player long-term. 2 lottery picks this year plus another future first-rounder comes pretty close to balancing out the values, and the Mavericks should ideally be planning for their future as much as possible with how injury-prone their current older core members are. But with Nico Harrison in charge, you just never know. I could see the Mavericks turning this down just to prevent a Wemby Flagg frontcourt pairing from becoming reality due to them being in the same conference, so even if the value is close to reasonable, it's pretty difficult for me to see this one actually coming into fruition. The next proposal from the article is actually a 4-team trade idea with a lot of moving pieces that I have displayed of the full details for on the screen now for you to take a look at, and it's between the Cavaliers, Mavericks, Lakers, and Bulls. But the highlights of the trade include Donovan Mitchell going to the Mavericks, Jarrett Allen going to the Lakers, Cooper Flagg going to the Cavaliers, and the Bulls getting smaller pieces like Dalton Connect to make the money work. When I want to dive into the world of guys running trade machines, this is the type of hectic stuff that I would like to see. Let's get wild. All of these teams are desperate and trying to figure out what their plans are moving forward, and a trade like this covers a lot of bases for each squad. For starters, Mavericks general manager Nico Harrison has repeated time and time again that the moves he is making are based on him trying to win now, even if that means sacrificing the future to do it. With Kyrie Irving's injury, winning now is looking looking incredibly difficult. But if they brought in Donovan Mitchell in his place to play alongside Anthony Davis and Klay Thompson, all of a sudden it becomes a lot more attainable of a goal. Donovan Mitchell is still in the prime of his career as one of the best scorers in the game, and after the Cavaliers fizzled out early yet again in the playoffs, they are a team that will almost assuredly be shaking things up a bit this summer. Most assume that Darius Garland will be the player that they move in the backcourt, but if Cooper Flagg can be had, then the Cavaliers would probably get on board with moving Mitchell and shift their focus to a more long-term outlook, being able to pair Flagg with Evan Mobley in what would be an elite two-way frontcourt. PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford are also players that have proven they can play important roles on NBA Finals caliber teams, so the Cavaliers would still remain a competitive playoff team in the East while building chemistry between Flagg, Garland, and Mobley as their new headlining trio. The Lakers' motivation to get involved here is obvious, as they are completely desperate to find a talented starting center that can provide defensive impact inside after having traded away Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic, and Jarrett Allen fits that bill. Allen is exactly what they need as a team. His playstyle fits perfectly playing with Luka Doncic, who would set him up for more looks around the basket than he's ever seen, and even though giving up Dalton Knecht might be tough to stomach for some Lakers fans after his rookie season, it's something that needs to be done to make this work. So, is this complicated deal actually something that could become reality? I think that's up to the Cavaliers. They're giving up their best player in Mitchell, who is also still just 28 years old, plus their former All-Star center in Jarrett Allen on top of that. I personally think that the prospect that Flagg is and his fit with their core make it worthwhile, but it's easier to say that in my position than it is in their position. The Mavericks probably shouldn't do this, because continually grasping at desperate attempts to win now with their injury-riddled core is not smart, but we're far past the point of giving the Mavericks front office the benefit of the doubt, so if Mitchell's available, they're probably going for it, so ultimately, this offer might just be crazy enough to work. And finally, the last proposal from the article is between the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns, where the Suns receive the number 1 pick, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, and Caleb Martin in exchange for Devin Booker, the 29th pick in this year's draft, a 2028 first-round pick, and a future pick swap. The rationale behind a trade like this for the Mavericks is pretty much a copy and paste from the last proposal we discussed, as Devin Booker comes in providing a very similar presence as Donovan Mitchell from that offer. This offer at least adds in 2 additional first-round picks alongside Booker though, so it gives the Mavs more in return in my opinion. Again, this is only an offer that would be considered if the Mavericks front office somehow still believes that they can put together a championship contender for next season, and Devin Booker playing alongside Anthony Davis is definitely intriguing, but so was Booker playing next to Kevin Durant, and that partnership did not result in anything. Also, factoring in the Mavericks trading away Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall, and PJ Washington, along with Cooper Flagg, this is just way too much to give up for Booker here. The Suns are a team about to blow things up this summer, with Kevin Durant seeming like a lock to request a trade, and if that happens, Booker may follow suit, so going after the number 1 pick to bring in Cooper Flagg and rebuild around him would be the best case scenario for the Suns. But I just don't think this benefits the Mavericks at all, and long term would definitely end up being a trade we look back on and laugh at in hindsight. This trade guts the Mavericks' depth to put together a Devin Booker and Anthony Davis duo with no supporting cast, which basically just repeats the exact losing recipe that the Suns just went through when they gutted their roster to pair Booker with Durant and Beal. So this one's probably the least likely to happen from the article, and would be most lopsided if it did. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about these proposed trades for Cooper Flagg. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.